animals that people gathered samples from and say, well, it comes from a canine, but
Yeah,
what
well,
is it?
most of those are mangy coyotes and stuff.
Is that right? The
Well,
chupacabra is just a mangy coyote?
well, when I was studying cryptozoology, what they were teaching was basically that there's that school of thought that hybrids, like basically because so many are hunted that at some point it's like they're running out. So it would be like wolves with coyotes, or it could
Yeah,
be
that's a
an
thing.
experiment, like with genetic engineering,
Ah,
trying to create a new species. And then
that does happen.
when I read when I
The
read
coyote
that,
wolf is a real thing, and
yeah,
it's up in your neighborhood actually.
when I read, genetic engineering, creating new species, I'm thinking like, Jurassic Park, like they just made it. They didn't think if they should.
Oh, scientists never do. Humans never do. We just make things
No,
because we think it's a good
that's it.
idea.
But animals do it on their own.
Yeah.
There's
Yes,
the
but that's
grizzly polar bear hybrids.
because they have no choice. Because if the ice caps are melting at some point, it's like those polar bears have to move where food is, so they move and move, and then we have hybrids. It's basically like nature trying to revive itself, trying to save itself. While us, it's just, yeah, we're gonna make this, and then we'll see what happens. But you're not thinking about all the stuff that it's gonna do to livestock, to
Well,
things that people eat, or
A&M's been doing that with crops for the longest time, and it's they come up with all sorts of stuff that actually kind of help out. But with animals, it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen
yeah.
with this? Is we're going to create this new creature?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that Mother Nature is going to be really happy about it,
Well,
when you don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah, the law of unintended consequences is really strong in the crossbreeding world.
Yeah, that's it. You don't know if it's gonna work. Like even hybrids, like from two families that are different, like the coyotes and the wolves, they are
Yeah.
from two different breeds, and that don't really speak to one another. And then it's like it
And
happens.
the problem with the coyote wolves is they're really successful.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
and they're not afraid of people.
No. No, because they have that canine in them that is like, well,
Yeah.
okay, the genetic code is there to recognize humans, so they don't give a crap, and they're gonna be like, well, if you're holding a sandwich I want, I'm gonna take it.
right?
You know?
Okay, so since we're on the subject of cryptids, first,
Yes.
first, let's for those naysayers in the chat or whoever watches
So
afterwards.
are we streaming again?
Yeah, we
Because
are.
I don't see it.
We are. OBS is green, so we are. Just refresh, and you should be able to see it.
Well, when I refresh, it starts to play from the start.
Okay, then it might have created. See, I see the
Oh,
live.
I see. There's another live now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Okay.
I'll merge it all together, I guess, afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I have my friend watching, and he's like, is
What's
the host
going
running
on?
old school AOL?
No, God damn it, no!
You
I
gotta-
swear to God,
Jesse, you gotta swap discs.
man. I know this is embarrassing.
The
But no.
nerd in me was giggling there.
I know. I pay like what $70 a month for Xfinity. That bullshit, goddamn stuff. Anyway,
Someone go out there with an antenna or something. I don't know.
Put some foil on your router.
I used to say we're streaming live with a Trailer Park Connection. I need to go back to that. We're streaming. I guess we are. I guess we are, aren't we?
You know,
Man.
it was doing so well at the beginning when you switched over.
It was. And so I don't know what happened tonight. I gotta look into that. So
I'm starting
Have
to
you been
think
paying
after
with
that.
Canadian money?
what, loonies and toonies? It sounds real, right?
You're
We have
getting,
both. Yeah, we do.
you're getting
And we got rid of
Canadian
the pay.
bits.
I use Monopoly money. Actually, that's what I use.
That would explain the quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
I
shit.
think they caught up on you. They were like, "Oh, now we know this is not real money."
Yeah. Okay, so about your experience in cryptozoology. So explain this degree thing again in more detail.
Okay. Well, it's basically a course where you learn about the main cryptids. So not all of them, but the classical ones. So the Sasquatch, the Thunderbird. You learn about also like the sea monster, like the Loch Ness, and others. I'm not gonna name them all, but yeah, you learn like quite a bit about those and what the research was like. So you see it from like the objective side, like the scientific side, and then you see it from more like through a paranormal eye, if you will. So you study the legend, where it came from, and how it grew the way it did. Now I am trying to push the school to have a vampirology course.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, because it is a course that exists. It's just they don't have it, and I really like that school. Like, I'm getting certifications in quite a few field that help me as an author and the founder of Gothic Bite magazine and the OCD Nerd News.
Okay. Now this
So
school,
is field work anything that you've been interested in doing? Have you done any field work, in tracking cryptids down?
More in
Good question.
ufology, but I would say that I did cryptozoology without knowing it, actually, because
Really?
yes, because we actually went, because yeah, we're crazy like that. Me and my husband, we decided on our honeymoon to go on a haunted horror honeymoon. So
Nice.
we decided, okay, we're gonna go visit all the haunted places and the places where people say they saw stuff.
cool. Did you see something?
Yeah. I what's funny about me is that I want to believe, make me believe, because I have too much of a scientific mind.
Yeah, I've been saying the same
So-
thing.
Okay, so I want to believe, and my husband is the same type of person. So we were on this bridge where someone actually like committed suicide. It's one of those covered bridge that you would see in like Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's in
Like an old
Stowe,
New
Vermont.
England type of thing.
Yes, it was in Stowe, Vermont, and it's called Emily's Bridge, so anybody can look it up. And yeah, it has like many legends attached to it. And we were in there. I had like this, I had this phone, and I was taking pictures. And believe it or not, like I had the live pictures, like nothing impressive in there, nothing. And after, when we looked at it like on the way home, it looked like I took a picture of the night sky. Like there was like all sorts of orbic stars, like like
Wow.
very bright stars. Then I
Was
wanted
this with your phone camera?
yeah.
Okay.
And then I wanted to show it to my uncle. The pictures were all pitch black.
Oh wow.
What?
Yeah. And while we were there, people were saying like, my battery was full. Why is it dead? And because it attracts a lot of people to go like explore and do paranormal search and stuff. So yes, while I was there, I was actually like trying to see like, okay, is there like, it's just wood. So how could, scratching on a car happens? It would have to be like, okay, a car may be dragging a branch or something, or, I was trying to make sense of it all. But then those pictures, I was like, okay, there's no scientific thing I can try to figure out, because
Right.
I took pictures after and everything was fine, and it was not my connection, because everything was fine. I took pictures of other stuff and they were all there and fine.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah,
It's kind of
I've
reminding
done-
my internet problem right now. Hey, everything was fine before, but now it's not fine. I don't understand what's going on here. I swear,
me.
guys, I swear. It was working before.
I tell you, you're going to have to smudge your router.
I'm gonna
Get
bless
those
it.
evil spirits out of it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bless it. Burn some
Call it
sage.
priest.
Yeah,
Sage and holy water. Just cover all the bases.
yeah. I don't know if
The
that.
power of Christ compel you.
Just dump some holy water on the Xfinity Gateway. That's gonna work well.
About half a gallon. Just do about half a gallon of holy water in the router. That'll clear things right up.
You might have to throw it in rice after, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at the service center tomorrow and be like, "What the fuck happened to it? It's drenching wet. It's soaked. It's what happened to this?" I tried to.
Evil
I
spirit.
called Ghostbusters.
You gave me a possessed modem. It's y'all's
Yeah.
problem.
So, in your opinion, which cryptid has the best scientific evidence behind it?
I would actually say that it would be ghosts. Um, and
Really?
yes, because my scientific approach to it is that energy cannot die. It cannot disappear. It
Right.
cannot be unmade. So, and because we
Newton
are
kind
made
of
out,
said that, right?
yes, and because we are made of electricity and magnetism and all that, when we die, that energy has to go somewhere. Hopefully not to, the closest transformer, but I mean, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we have so many things that can grab that energy and repurpose it. So it's not necessarily I believe in ghosts like Casper's or I believe, in The Conjuring or something like that, but that energy, if it's not repurposed right away to something else, then it can be stagnant and try to find a way to, be absorbed by something. So it might create that. Or the other scientific approach that I take is that past, present, and future coexist at the same time. And that when we feel like there's a ghost, it's because we're crossing to either the past or the future. So we're
Right.
sort of like, like, oh,
Wait,
I
wait,
just
wait.
got
Did I hear
something
that
that
right?
wasn't there.
So when we die, we can pass into the past or into the future? Is that
No,
what
it's two theories that,
Oh.
when we die, there is that energy that has to go somewhere because energy cannot die, so it has to be
Yeah.
repurposed.
Okay.
And the other theory would be that, like general relativity would suggest that, basically time is it is fluid and it is not necessarily a line, but it can coexist all at the same time, like past, present, future.
Oh, wow. Okay. So ghosts would be
So
the
there would be like a
most...
glitch.
Okay. Now, have you seen a ghost?
I have not.
Okay.
But the strangest thing that ever happened to me and my husband, we were sitting in the living room,
Yeah.
and it was at my family house where I grew up. Because
Okay.
when my grandmother passed away, I didn't want my grandfather to be alone, so I moved in. And so it was an old house because he built it, and it was like about 40 years old, a house. And we're sitting in the living room. My great aunt lived below us in the bachelor, and so she would often call me, to give me like either cookies or muffins, whatever, or just talk to me. So I hear my name. I go downstairs, knock on the door. There's nothing. So I'm like, oh my God, is she okay? So I'm looking for the spare key. I don't know where it is. I'm freaking out because I'm like, okay, she's old. She could have like tripped and fell or something.
Yeah.
But there was no sound or anything. So I was like, okay, she might be okay. Go back upstairs, hear my name again, go down, and then I'm like, okay, something is wrong. Something is really off. And when I go back up, we started hearing humming. Like someone is just singing. Yeah, something like that. And
Okay.
then after that,
Were you humming "Strangers in the Night"?
I think so. I was, huh? This what came to
so
mind.
yeah,
We don't have a license for you to do that.
I know.
yeah, don't do it. That costs too much money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that, I realized, oh, we're Wednesday. So I'll go to the window that gives to the, like, I can see the driveway. Her car is not there because it's bingo night.
Oh, yeah. Bingo. Don't miss
So,
bingo.
yeah, like super typical, right? But yeah, no, she was a bingo night.
Bingo's
And
important. Don't downplay bingo.
no, I know. She used to win all the time.
That's
She
not
was
fair.
she was making her money back and more. Like
That's
the luckiest woman alive. And I went to see her when she came back, and I scared, of course, the crap out of her saying that. And I was like, well, it's okay, whatever it is, it's calling me, not you, so you're fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it happened a few times after, and then we moved. And it didn't happen after.
wow.
And it's something that I cannot explain. I mean, there are people that say, "Oh, it's residual haunting," but I was like, "Yeah, but she's still alive."
Now, okay.
I hate
Now,
being haunted by living people.
right?
Exactly.
Right?
It's like, come on.
They get so
Come
annoying,
on.
especially when they're like babies and they're just crying all the time. Like, wah, wah. It's like, come on, ghost baby. I think
So
that'd be the
one of
worst.
the unexplained things that I experienced was when I was newly married. Not newly married, but in relative terms.
Mhm.
And we had a baby, and my wife and I were sitting in the living room trying to watch something on television. We heard crying coming from down the hall from the baby's room, and it's like, and I get up and go, I'll check on her. It's my turn. I go down there. She's fast asleep.
Wow.
And then I went back, sat down, and we heard it again. And she went down there. Same thing, baby fast asleep. But we both heard crying enough to get us up off the sofa to go check on her.
So you had a ghost
Wow.
baby. You had a ghost baby.
Yeah.
Huh.
We had a ghost baby. And then we had a real baby about, 9 months later.
Look at that. Look at that. Maybe that was the future spirit of the baby. I don't know how that works.
Could be. It's as good of explanation as any.
I guess so.
mean, that one to me is something that could make sense because it would be, like that glitch in the Matrix sort of thing. I mean,
Okay.
Right?
Okay, now I have to ask. So that's the most logical, or I guess the most probable cryptid is a ghost. But what about, and you probably mentioned this during the downtime, whatever. But come on, what about Sasquatch? What about Chupacabra? What about the Goat Man?
actually, people are coming out now. Like, it's like the popularity of ghosts is still high, but it's coming down, and werewolves are gaining more attention.
Yeah.
Oh.
And people are coming out with those stories that actually makes a lot of sense. They make sense.
Wait, hold on. You just said werewolves and makes sense.
SK,
Yeah.
SK totally makes sense. Don't question it. No. Okay, no. Okay.
No,
do
I'm
tell,
building.
do tell.
I'm building dramatic tension in the show, Jesse. Come on.
No, it's totally okay. I mean, I didn't believe that at all until I started digging some stories and research me around the possibility of werewolves. It goes far back because
Okay.
we're going back like to the witch trials. So witch trials were like 300 years. It lasted for that long in Europe, and
Yeah.
while
A lot of people
Okay.
were
So not
barbecued
Salem.
over.
So we're not talking Salem witch trials.
no, we're talking
All
the old world, if you will.
Ah,
So
okay.
Yeah,
mostly Europe and
thousands of
Scandinavians.
people, not just women, but men too.
Yes.
And children were burned at the stake.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Man, that
Well,
makes the Salem one look
that was if you
much
were
better.
lucky, actually.
Man, so the Salem one's pretty good then. Okay. So, and there's werewolves over there or something?
Yeah, well, it's because when they were doing those trials, what was not as popular for people, I guess, was to mention that they were holding werewolves trials as well. And
What?
yeah,
So that was a thing.
mhm,
It's just not as known.
exactly. You can find those articles on Gothic Byte. I made the research. People like Peter Stump were accused of werewolves because they basically, what they did was, to them, if you were accused of being a werewolf, you were a witch, because the witch word has no gender, like a pharaoh. You could be a
Right.
woman or a man, and it is proven that during the 300 years of witch hunt and trials, there were more men that were accused of being a witch than women.
Okay.
And werewolves were a bit the same thing. They were like more toward the male population than the female, even though there were women too. Peter Stump is the most known case, a gruesome one. It was actually, I think, the first articles on Gothic Byte that I had to put a warning for graphic content.
Oh,
Wow,
do
cool.
feel free to get into that. This is an R-rated show here. What happened?
Well, he was accused because he lost his wife. He had two children, and a boy and a girl. And he was a loving father, apparently. But people were maybe jealous of him because he had a lot.
Yeah.
He was not poor, and he had this maid to help him raise his children, and to have, of course, a mother figure in the house and everything. And he was accused of being a werewolf by someone else. That was quite weird. But they took her word, and then people, of course, it started like, yeah, I saw that too, and this and that. He got arrested. People were saying that he was having sex with his daughter, and even when he was tortured on the wheel rack, he still said that he never touched his children, and he never touched his daughter. He never confessed being a werewolf, despite like he was being branded. They would take burning iron and just scrape out some flesh, and they would like torture him, 5 ways to Sunday. And then when he had like his final trial, he had to watch his children and his maid burn alive.
Wow.
Damn.
Before they actually basically what they did was stretch him on a wheel.
Ooh.
And have him roll down a hill until he died. But that was like one of the most gruesome things that they did. And then they decided to behead him, put his head at the top of a spike, and say like, this is what is going to happen to any werewolf.
Okay, now wait. But was he a werewolf?
You got it.
I mean,
Yeah. Well,
I don't think he was.
so was he telling the truth?
Basically, that story is the story of a man that was accused of something probably
Yeah.
that never happened. What makes me believe that it could be true is actually like very, very recent reports from people that would go in secluded areas, and they would notice that some people looked strange, like their eyes would glow in the night. They would be way taller. Like in general, the entire town would be taller.
The entire town?
Yeah, like, you would be walking around and then you're like, okay, it's not like just one man that is, 6'2". It's like the entire male population are like, 6'5", and the women are like, 5'10".
Okay.
Well, but yeah,
And you're not in
there's
Sweden
a-
there, you're in, just here somewhere, like either in the States or Canada where I am, and then you go in those places.
Right.
Okay.
Isolated communities can have some, pretty shallow gene pools.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. Very well put. But it's the glowing eyes, and
Well, that's atypical for sure.
yeah, and it's also like the behavior, and they would hear a lot of howling, but there's no report of wolves around, because it's not something that a dog is just going to do for fun.
No.
Dogs don't do that,
no, and dogs are afraid of wolves, and that's another thing. They see that, why is there like absolutely no dogs, or no pets, or certain things like that. Like they notice that there is something strange, and then they would go camping, because normally it's like those places they would have those camping in the woods thing.
Yeah.
And then that's where pictures would come out.
Okay.
What places are these specifically?
Yeah, where can I find one of these places?
I want to go camping there.
Sadly, the places that I was able to retrieve some information, they were basically saying general state of Washington. Like they didn't say where exactly.
Oh, that doesn't narrow it down. I've been all over the goddamn state. I want to know specifics.
Exactly. I am still trying to dig to find
wait.
exactly.
I'm in Washington, you know that.
Hold on.
Oh, that's awesome.
So somewhere in Washington there is a small colony of werewolves. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that is basically what the research I made was saying, because all those like atypical things that were I was like, okay, this is actually strange. I want to see this with my own eyes.
Yeah.
And I would dig up some other research, but it's also on paranormal witness. They actually interviewed the couple, and I did check. They are not actors, and they have
Okay.
absolutely no like there is no reason why they would do that, because they
I mean, are
are
they
like,
trying to sell something? Are they trying to be like, I'm a werewolf and
no,
buy my book?
no, not even
It's
like
not
Okay.
like Mennonites,
the
right?
husband is the husband is actually like an ex-cop. He has absolutely, like, he cannot gain anything from this.
Do they have like Instagram accounts and enjoying the dopamine rush of a following? I have to
Well,
ask.
I believe that then they were in Oregon, I think.
Okay.
But there are like quite a few that are coming out with those stories. Like I said, it's like ghosts are like not as popular anymore because people are opening to that, like the paranormal lore, if you will. So people being used to it. I mean, I grew up watching a haunting, so and ghost hunters too when I was older. So people are not used to it. So they I think that people are feeling safer to say, look, I don't know what it is. I don't even want to say the word werewolf, but there is no other explanation.
So I can think of a couple of places that might apply that are remote enough where
Okay.
something like that could happen.
Well, SK, you need to go there like immediately. We need some information on this, right? Like,
All right.
I mean, I promise, if I can find the exact town, the name, I will tell you, because I want to go there.
I will go there. I'll go there. Absolutely.
I mean, there is a place where there.
It's not, and it's not the goddamn place on the coast where Twilight was set.
No, and essentially, I don't even know where it was filmed. I don't want to know. To me, it's an insult to the entire
hey,
paranormal. Like, Nosferatu is probably rolling in his grave still about it.
hey, and SK, you're single, man. Maybe you can hook up with a werewolf chick.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not picky.
Yeah.
Hey, if
Okay,
you like that biting stuff, I mean,
Wouldn't there be a bunch of like
A
dead?
little hair, a little fur, that's all right.
I mean, if there's
I
a
mean,
small colony of werewolves, wouldn't there be some traces, like some dead animals, like carcasses and shit? Like,
well, it depends. If their town lives, let's say, on camping and hunting and things like that, then it would not be strange. Like, if they are
well, I
smart
would
enough.
imagine
Okay,
hunters would see them though. There's lots of people hunting, especially in that area.
Depends. No, it really depends because there are. Let me tell you, like there's this lake that's this long, skinny, snake-like lake called Chelan
Okay.
that's super deep and very, very long, and there are not roads all the way around it. But people live on the north end of the lake, but there's no roads to it.
Go there. That's it.
well, don't send him there alone. Don't do anything alone.
I
Like that. That's like the number one rule of horror movies.
Look. You're gonna
Don't have sex and don't go alone.
Okay. You're gonna let a horror movie dictate your life. SK, get a GoPro, go to that place, and hook up with a werewolf chick, and hey, yeah.
Maybe make sure you have a leash first. Oh.
She might be into that.
some milk bones.
But her man might not be, because I imagine she might
Yeah.
already have a man, right? Another werewolf man. You gotta handle that business.
Yeah, I mean, in True Blood, usually they did. So I don't know how true that is to reality, but
I don't know.
I mean,
So wait, I have to ask. I mean, are people actually claiming they've seen people transform and turn to wolf form and shit? What are we
not
gonna-
at all.
Okay.
It's most reports are saying, like, like they took pictures of
Okay.
the feet, like what they would leave on the snow. They would, yeah, like the prints, and they would take, like, the pictures or the videos from it, like from where it stood and where it jumped. So like,
Okay.
you see the leap, And you're like, okay,
Right.
there is no animal that can do that unless, like, it's gigantic, but like, 8 feet tall or something. So there's that. And then you can find that they're going to say, like, they didn't see it change. But what they saw is that that person was like, they saw it, let's say, they saw the person at the 7-Eleven. So how did it get to the general store that is, a mile away, like, in like less than, I don't know how.
Hmm.
And there are like other people that are, saying like that wolf was wearing jeans. The fuck?
A
Yeah,
wolf was wearing
Like
jeans.
jean
extreme.
wearing wolves, that would be a
Yes.
giveaway.
And it's a
I
biped too.
absolutely agree with that.
It's a biped too, so it's on both back legs. And I mean,
If
how
I
long
ever
can your dog stand on his back legs? Not that long.
Could that be a
if I
Halloween
ever
costume?
see a wolf wearing jeans, you'll hear it on this podcast, I
Right.
promise.
I'll take a
I will
picture.
not keep that shit to myself.
No, I mean, that's why I want to go, because there are like quite a few things. I say, okay, those people are not actors, because I made like, a lot of research on it. And I mean, I was in acting for like, 13 years, so I know where to look. And no, those people are not. And I did, like, even Paranormal Witness, I was like, oh, okay, that's fake. But then when I did the research, like, no, it's actually like genuine, real people.
Okay.
And they regretted like seeing that story, because then they're stopped everywhere they go.
Oh
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
this
it
is
like,
just
are you
interesting.
follows
that?
them around, right?
I did not
Yeah.
expect werewolves to be the cryptid that is popular right now.
I
All
know.
right, so let
Me
me
neither.
let me toss this out as a what if is a werewolf?
Yeah.
I could see that. I could actually see that, because there are those giant wolves there that we see on YouTube and stuff. So, I mean, there could be.
Yeah, Bigfoot's
Uh,
hanging with the werewolves, man. That's what they're
No,
doing.
no, Bigfoot
no,
is a
that
werewolf. That's what
yeah,
I'm
Ah,
saying.
he like
because they were bipeds, like
That's why
people that
nobody can find them because
yeah,
they transform.
and they
mm,
are mammals.
and that could explain the origin of the werewolves. Bigfoot fucked a wolf, and it did not go well. It led to werewolves or some. I mean, what's the origin of werewolves? Like, how did do we know that?
Yes, it is. It goes back to. Uh, it actually goes to the Bronze Age, if I'm not mistaken, but mostly in Europe. Here, Native Americans have their own tales, so we can go back even like maybe 1,000, 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's also Egypt that have some that are like, because you have the god Seth and stuff like that, that have like that canine that
Okay.
that canine head. So yes, they do have their legend. So like exactly like vampires, the legend of the werewolf goes back millennia,
All right.
and it's around the world, because
Wow.
even some African folklore has also the werewolves. So it's just that they're gonna have different names, like vampires are gonna have different names.
I mean, as long as you don't include the Greeks, because those fuckers are like on acid or something.
Right.
They were seeing some weird shit.
But yeah, no, there's folklore everywhere, but it goes back millennia. We're talking like,
Okay.
2,000-3,000 years ago. So it's not new. Even though we believe it is, it's because it gained popularity during the witch trials, then it died, then it came back, then it died, and
Wait,
now
wait,
it's
wait.
coming back.
Okay, I have to ask you because you talked about vampires earlier. What about
Yeah.
vampires? Are they real?
There is actually 2 cases that have people scratch their heads
Okay, what are
trying to
these two
find
cases?
what. Okay, the first case was actually on Beyond Belief with Jonathan Frakes as the host, the guy that played Riker from Star Trek Next Generation.
Okay.
He, there was like that story about a vampire, so I had to sit down and watch it, and I was like, it's gonna be false, but I still want to watch it. The guy was crossing in New York City at an
Okay.
intersection, like he was walking,
All right.
crossing the street, but an ambulance actually hit him, and he went, feet away, fell on his back, and the paramedics got there, and they were like, okay, we're going to bring you to the hospital. He refused they forced him. Apparently the guy was really strange, but he really didn't want to go to the hospital. So I was like, okay, maybe he's in the States, so he probably doesn't have insurance and doesn't want to have, a
Was he
bill
on
to pay or
drugs?
anything.
Like,
That's what at first paramedics were saying, like, maybe
Right,
that's what
PCP,
happened,
right?
because he was really strange, and he was fine. But he was like, no, we cannot take this. Like, you just got hit by an ambulance. So they brought him to the hospital. He doesn't want to have any blood tests done. He wants out. So they were like, okay, we're not going to touch you, but you have to stay for the night. And he's like, no, I cannot. I have to get out of here. And no, they kept him there. But because he was creating so much mayhem in the hospital, they moved him to a solitary room, and he had one nurse that would go in to make sure that he's fine, and he had security outside the door, and they kept the door just a bit open to check on him.
okay.
At some point, the nurse realizes, whoa, he's not there, and moments later, he's there drinking bags of donated blood. Now we're talking like I don't remember if he was on the 3rd or 4th floor, but she screamed, called the security. They go in, and he jumped out the window. They saw him land, got back up, and ran.
Wait. And there's an article on this?
I wrote the article on Gothic Bite, and
Gothic Bites.
I am... Yeah, on Gothic Bite, and I'm trying to
start checking out that magazine.
And I am trying to find like maybe the actual footage from the show, because it's reenactment, so it's not like they have like proof of people or pictures or anything, because it's reenactment.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
But I would imagine
from Beyond Belief.
I would imagine
They
that a
got the
hospital
story
would
from
have
somewhere. There must have been like a news report or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, shouldn't there be
That's
camera
what I
footage?
would like to find.
Is there camera
But
footage?
it's old. It was an old story, though.
Oh.
So, like, it was there footage. I don't know, but maybe like the nurse went to the news to talk about it, or I
Right.
would like to dig deeper. But I do know that it was on Beyond Belief.
How long
and
ago?
that the story was true. Oh my God, I was young, and I don't even know if it was a rerun.
Oh,
But I mean, Jonathan Frakes was the host.
I'm trying to date it.
Yeah, not all that. Well, shit.
Not that old, but it's
2000 was almost 20 fucking years ago now.
Yeah,
So Jesus.
2000 hospitals would have cameras on the floors.
do not talk about that.
Like security cameras would be there in the 2000s. Like.
Yeah, but I'm sure that someone, I mean, they got the story from somewhere. So it's a matter of, trying to
That's the first
go
story.
back. And find it.
But there's a second story.
Yes, and that one happened. You can find it. It was Evil Encounters.
Okay.
That is a Canadian horror show where they reenact stuff, but if there is true footage or anything, they're going to show it. For the vampire one, they didn't, because it's with a child, and the child, of course, didn't have they were camping, no Wi-Fi, no nothing, like nature stuff. But the show is legit in the sense that they do not have actors. It's the real people that are talking. I made the research again for that, because it was about a vampire. So I was like, okay, I'm stopping everything and I'm listening. So it's like, how can this be true? And it was about a man who went with his friend, and his wife and kid camping, and the kid decides to just take off in the woods, and then they don't see him, so they start searching. He comes back, he's crying, and he's saying he saw a vampire. And they're like, okay, vampires don't exist.
Right.
You probably just saw, maybe some wildlife or whatever, a deer. But he was explaining, no. He was wearing a cloak, and he described the person.
Okay.
And then they say, okay, we're going to go back with you and show us. So they go back. There's nothing. But the kid that was so excited to go camping now is like, holding his sleeping bag and says he wants to go home. He doesn't even want s'mores, chocolate, name it. He doesn't want anything. He just wants to go back home because he's terrified. So,
baby.
Yeah, for real, right? So the mother says, so what do we do? And then they say, look, we're just going to go back home. Like, if he's not enjoying this, might as well go home. So she takes him home. The two friends stays to take down the tents and everything. Because they decided to go off the grid. They were not even supposed to be as deep as they were in the woods.
Right.
And so after that, they pack everything up, get in the pickup truck, get on their way. But then the driver says, I think I saw something very, very weird. And of course, his friend starts making fun of him.
Wow.
And he's like, no, I'm going to prove this to you. So he actually turns around. They go back, and then they see someone.
No, yeah. I know. We were on a good run. We were on a great run. I just want to say, like I said, this just started happening tonight. And we get these long spats of good run whenever I disconnect or reconnect this little USB little Wi-Fi thing. So I don't know if it's like static. I don't know what it could be because I'm watching stuff and it's like, come on. Anyway. You were saying about the vampire, the vampire kid, or not the vampire kid.
I don't know, just you missed out on some good shit.
No. We got most of it. We'd stopped off with the guy in the cloak.
Okay, so that's it. They turned around. They saw the guy in the cloak. When he turned around, the two guys saw that the head was shaking so bad that they couldn't even make out what they were looking at, except that, yes, it is a face. They got back in the truck, and they decide, okay, we're getting out of here as fast as we can. They're going way faster than they should. But the creature is actually running right outside at the same place where the guy was driving. So he was exactly where he was.
Keeping pace?
Keeping pace. He was not, like, no sign of getting tired or anything. And he's just looking at them. The head is shaking, and it's showing its fangs at the same time. Like
T-Rex in Jurassic Park.
Sort of, yeah.
Chasing the Jeep.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a vampire or something.
But it's a vampire.
What the weird thing was is that where they should have stopped for camping, the creature stopped.
Okay.
So the theory around that is that, let's say vampires exist, maybe all they want is stay out of our territory. You know, like they would be territorial creatures. Like
I would say, let's find this territory.
I want to know.
I know, right?
Where's that fucking boundary?
Yeah.
Seriously, they don't say.
Oh, wow.
I think I got the information on Gothic Bite, like the general area again. But, I mean, I'm going to check.
Is that in Washington too? God damn it.
Is it?
There was a lot that happened in Washington. I was like, okay, I'm clearly not on the right coast here.
What about Texas? Come on, man. Texas has something.
Texas have a lot of ufology stuff that happens that
UFOs?
has me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to have to shift gears here a little bit. Because there's two other subjects I want to talk about tonight.
Texas is too busy shooting each other.
Hey. We just love our guns, man. Okay? It's like the Old West over here still.
That's why there's no vampires in Texas.
We'll shoot them.
That's it. They killed them all. They adapted their guns with like little wooden bullets.
Yeah, man. If there was cryptids, we'd shoot them too. I saw a chupacabra. I shot it.
What was that? I don't know.
I shot it.
I don't know. Hey,
okay,
it was an endangered species. It was the last one. Well, now it's going above my bed.
Now, you also have a certificate or a degree in ufology. Now,
yes.
Okay, the same school?
Yes.
Okay, what's the school again?
It's Center of Excellence. I don't like giving them.
It's okay.
I don't like mentioning them because they're my little.
Sounds like you had a great time with their courses.
You know, they are absolutely amazing. They are legit. They're so awesome. It's just that they're my secret weapon. When I need something, I go there and I get the certification. You know.
Oh,
right. Okay.
I see. what you're getting at.
So
Yeah.
You're gonna
What-
keep it all to yourself. That's pretty.
Yes, I'm very greedy.
stingy of you.
how does one get a degree in ufology? Like, and also, does Dan Aykroyd have that degree? Because I would imagine he would, being that he's Mr. UFO man. But anyway.
Oh, it's not that old of a certification that they have, because they take a lot of like suggestions from their students, and if there is a big enough like of interest in it, then they're going to build a course around it. And to be a ufologist, you don't have to have a certification. Me, I wanted it because I wanted to have a deeper understanding of what it implied and where the story came from and how it started, and when people were starting to report stuff and how it is now. So this course, you study basically everything from the beginning, and you study it with, again, a very scientific eye, and then you have the supernatural eye, if you will, that
Okay.
it's like, okay, if it would exist, how could it be? And you try to do some deduction and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the course is absolutely amazing. It answered questions that I had, and it actually had me want to know more and really get out there and try to find answers.
Okay. Okay.
go study.
What is the scientific eye approach of ufology? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, ufology, basically, the word UFO is unidentified flying object.
Correct.
So it could be anything that you don't know what it is, like someone who's not wearing glasses and like, I saw something move. Yeah, it could be
Right.
a drone. It could be an airplane. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But it's when it starts to be something that is way above what a drone could go, and
Yeah.
that has those, very strange pattern of flying.
Okay.
Like, okay, no plane can do that.
Okay, and I'll say this: while the cryptid thing might, people may have a lot of doubts about that. What's very interesting about UFOs is that even the military has come out saying, "Look, we've been seeing these things for a while now. We
Yeah.
don't know what they are." In fact, Commander Fravor was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's the guy who he was piloting the jet that saw the Tic Tac UFO footage, which some people say is fake, but
Yeah.
he walked through that footage. The reason why people say it's fake is because it's it's recorded from the jet.
Yeah.
And it's not the best quality, but it's
Right.
designed for targeting and for war and all that. They followed that thing. They've been seeing a lot of those things. What are these
Yeah.
things? Okay.
So me, what I do when I do research is that person gaining something from it? Obviously not. I mean, people in the military, they are very proud, and they don't want to be seen as crazy people. So when they release things like that, and that you have people that go in and say like, I was the one piloting and things like that, they believe what they're telling you.
Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, the military, they're invested in this because they
Yeah.
do believe they're seeing these UFOs. Now, they're on pause about whether or not it's aliens because it's like, no, they're concerned
They're not
whether or not it
saying-
could be like Chinese or
yeah.
Russian or something
it's
going on.
It's a good point to make, is that the Navy did not validate the content of the video, only that the video was legitimate and undoctored.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like saying, yes, there is 100% fruit in there, but the percentage of fruit, you don't know. So it's the same thing here. It's like you have the footage that, yes, they do say it is from that jet, but do they confirm that it is a UFO? I mean,
They're
They
not
could.
saying what it is.
That's
They're just
it.
saying it's a legitimate video.
Exactly, but they're not saying what the content is, or releasing what their findings could be or whatever. It's basically like the Project Blue Book.
Yeah, the military has had unexplained sightings since World War II.
Yeah.
And that's That's a real thing.
Mm.
If you look up Foo Fighters, not the band. The band got the name from the World War II phenomena of unexplained,
Right.
unidentified of UFOs, and they weren't the jet fighters, because they saw the jet fighters. They knew what the jet fighters were.
Mm-hmm.
This was different.
Yeah. It was also explained, once again, referencing Joe Rogan's a little, big podcast, not a little podcast, but even the same commander guy was talking about that, how, like, his own, I think his father, whatever, would, in World War II would see things like that. And they would move in ways that didn't make any sense. Like, they would move like vertically, like straight into the water, up from the water, like in a way that it was like, what?
And I say all of this as a skeptic of the alien explanation. I absolutely do not believe that these are alien in origin, but I don't know what they are either.
Could be sun people. I don't know.
And guess where one of the first UFO sightings in this country was?
Washington.
Right here in Washington.
Oh, fuck that. Look at that. Look at that. Not in Texas.
And he doesn't believe, like, yeah.
Well,
What a waste.
No, I know that people have seen shit. And I absolutely understand that. Hell, my own grandfather saw a formation of UFOs on a fishing trip. And this was a guy, this was old school farming ethics type of guy. He didn't make up anything.
Was he on shrooms? Gotta ask.
No.
Okay. No alcohol.
No, he was not a drinker, not a smoker, not a gambler.
Okay.
This guy led as clean a life as you can even imagine. Okay.
Now let me ask Alexa this. Do you think they're done here? I'm gonna fix this motherfucker. No. I'm pissed. I'm pissed about this technical issue.
I love the idea of faster than light speed. My biggest question I have around it is, how do you see what's in your way?
Right?
It actually works a lot with, because I wrote an entire sci-fi book about it, so I did a lot of research for that. How it would work is that they would have basically deflector shields, which would be all those, if you say, panels on the ship that would repel everything that is in its path, because there's a lot of debris out there. You're going to have a lot of rocks, and you're going to have a lot of rocks floating around.
When you're going that fast, it doesn't take much to punch a hole in your ship.
Exactly.
Right.
The thing is how you would go faster than light. It is not necessarily speed that you need, because you cannot go faster than light. It's impossible. But what you could do is cheat.
There's a thing about making a kind of an envelope that you'd travel through.
Yes, the warp bubble.
Yeah.
That's basically what you see a bit in Star Trek, is like you create a warp bubble, which is, it's going to protect your ship, because you're going to live outside of space-time. And what it does is that it basically uses gravitational waves, and it basically grabs what's in front and pull it in the back. So sort of like a slingshot.
Now, has this been demonstrated in a practical sense?
It's a speculative science in the sense that the science is there.
Okay.
It is there. So it theoretically